Friendship, kinship, and politics. That's what gets you a job in the United States of America today. Not merit. Not merit. Merit has nothing to do with it. Anytime a white man with a prison record can get a job that a black man without a prison record cannot get, and they have the same qualifications. Isn't that clear? I mean, what kind of picture I have to paint?
Well, what do you say then to if a young black student in elementary school or high school that didn't have much faith in the system before in terms of, I'm not interested in this, and this is what white people do, and all that kind of stuff. When they hear this, what is to prevent them from saying, well, what do I need to stay in this place anymore for? Let me get out of here and get, on the streets and hustle some money or this, that, and the other.
That's what they're doing. I don't have to tell them that. I don't have to tell them that. That's what they're doing. Don't you see, my sister? Nobody has to tell them. These kids aren't stupid. They understand the name of the game. What we're not telling our kids are the nature of struggle and who the enemy is, because we're scared. Because we're scared. Because the enemy will take my job and I can't pay for my Lexus. I can't pay my house note. I can't send my kids to college. So I'm not getting up and talking about that.
So
we're 50 years in desegregation. We're 50 years into Brown. And we've resegregated. Why? Because white people don't like black people, don't want to live with them, and sure don't want to go to school with them.
And that's not good.
I mean, please, just deal with it. Deal with it. Decentralization didn't work. Why didn't decentralization work? It didn't work because there was not enough money to implement it, and taxpayers don't want to pay any more money to educate, and at least not black people in the center cities. So, anywhere you go, but I don't even want you to deal with the, what do you call it, anecdotal knowledge. I want you to deal with the studies. How about the study that they did at Northwestern, where the students sent out applications for jobs using names, black names and white names? How about that one? So Lakeisha Washington and Jamal Jones didn't get the job, but Brendan Fraser and Emily Walsh did. I mean, now how much clearer can you be that whiteness is important?
But then what do you say to a young black person in terms of, yeah, education is worth it. You got to get out there and the kinds of things that your mother used to say to you about get as educated as you can and you can beat the system.
It's not going to work. That's why these kids aren't doing anything in school. Don't you understand? They understand you're a big liar. And the other thing is, we're not doing anything about it. The preachers aren't doing anything about it. The teachers aren't doing anything about it. NAPC's not doing anything about it. NAACP's not doing anything about it. The Urban League's not doing anything about it. Why? Because the topic is politically incorrect and must be sanitized.
Even at the expense of their own children's education.
It is done so. That's what's happening right now, right here, this minute. We don't have the courage that our people had during Jim Crow. Where is the Ida B. Wells? Where is the Mary McLeod Bethune? Where are they? We don't have the courage that our ancestors had.
Why not? It would seem that it doesn't take as much courage to step out there and fight the battles.
But it does.
It does?
Oh, yeah.
Even though on the surface, at least a lot of young people seem to feel, things are, even young black people seem to feel, things are really so much better, and there's really not that much of a difference in terms of the way the races are being treated. And it really is a meritocracy, and it'll all work out in the end.
That'll come out in the wash. My son has a PhD in animal science genetics. He can't get a job in any university because they choose Chinese. Now, why do they choose Chinese? Because they're cheaper.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another live broadcast on the forecast. What's going on? Shouts out to Raw in the building. Yeah, sick and tired of being sick and tired, Raw, and it might just be us in here today, and that's all good. But, like she said, it does, take courage today, tomorrow, and yesterday, And I was gonna come on here, because I'm just going to talk about something that I was just tripping off of earlier, but I'm like, man, I gotta, because I wasn't gonna show anything negative today, but there is like no days off, and so sometimes you just have to do that. So and like she said, man, where is like the Ida B. Wells is and stuff like that. Now I ain't what she is, but um, it wouldn't just be. It's all lessons with it, but still. Now, first of all, like, cause this is just like now I never showed this one. This was like about a month ago. But this brother here was just at work. You know what I'm saying? And this dude just stabbed him while this young brother was at work, and this dude just walked up and stabbed him and got peacefully arrested. you know they got to make some money off of it first. But yeah, sick and tired of being sick and tired, and that's what I'm saying. Like, we think it's all fun and games, but like this could be like you ain't gonna feel it until it's somebody that you care about. It's not real until, like, I don't want to wait until that point. So
Are learning more after a weekend attack inside a Rockford Walmart leaves one person dead.
The 18-year-old victim, Jason Jenkins, was an employee at the store. Timothy Carter's accused of first-degree murder in his death. The 28-year-old's being held in the Winnebago County Jail. Carter appeared in court for the first time this afternoon. Drea Baroni was there. And Drea, what did you learn?
Mimi, just hours ago, Timothy Carter appeared over Zoom to a crowded courtroom inside the Winnebago courthouse. Friends and family of Jason Jenkins filled that room. The Auburn High School student was stabbed in the back while working at Walmart last night. He later died from his injuries, according to the criminal.
it's like Coward just stabbed, a teenager in the back while he was working. Exactly, all over the planet, but we don't seem to get it. We don't seem to understand, And this ain't like, look, slavery may not have been enough. Like this, certainly, obviously, is not enough. People don't take the warnings. They don't know they don't have no damn friends. I mean, this is like the last couple of days. It's not like hundreds. I'm talking about 200 years ago. Like, and I don't show the same thing unless I'm talking about an update or something. It's just so many of these things. I'll be like, yeah, I'll try not to show nothing negative. And then if you don't show it for like, I'm about to show y'all just everything that happened within the last week. All the times that I was like, I don't want to show something negative. This most of the stuff that I left out. What's going on, Blanca? Appreciate you for coming in. Like I said, I wasn't going to skip the negative
According
stuff,
to the criminal complaint, Carter was walking through the store with two knives, a kitchen knife and a hunting knife. Police say video shows him walking up to the 18-year-old with the knives and stabbing him in the back once while saying a racial slur. The coroner's report shows Jenkins later died of that stab wound. At the court hearing today, Jenkins' family and friends were visually distraught and angry. I even heard some of them yelling as they walked out of the courthouse less than 24 hours after Jason's murder. Rockford Public Schools offered grief counseling today at.
See, like, And then, they peacefully arrested me walking through Walmart with knives and just ran up on a random young brother and stabbed him in the back, mind you. Not in the, you know, it's not to his face or nothing. He just came to his back. Now, it's like, I should,
Kayak.
And spoke with one of them today, and Jess, the witness you spoke with actually was the one who filmed the suspect.
That's right, David. Heather Reichs was with her boyfriend at Walmart shopping like they do regularly. However, when she spotted a man holding a knife, she took out her phone to film him. Little did she know what that man had done moments earlier.
There was another lady in the aisle with me, and we both heard some screaming, and it's really not uncommon at Walmart to have weird things happening.
What Heather Reichs was hearing was the scream of Jason Jenkins, an employee at Walmart who was stabbed to death. The frequent Walmart shopper had no idea what was going on the evening of March 24th, when she stumbled upon the man accused of the killing.
When I saw the guy throwing the stuff down there, I saw he had the knife, and it was like he was trying to, tell them, come get it, but I was like, oh, I won't trust it with it still being in his hand.
Heather spotted Timothy Carter, who was holding the knife in the middle of the store. He's been charged with first-degree murder. It wasn't until
they ain't got no guns or nothing on this fool. They just peacefully arrested him.
Heather was in the checkout line that she realized she was filming the accused killer. Footage from her shows Carter being apprehended by security on site.
He got taken away. We finished getting a couple of things, and we went up to the registers.
Oh yeah, let me finish shopping.
Our cashier was just a mess. I felt so bad. She had tears in her eyes, and I wanted to just hug her.
Heather said when she saw...
She'd be like, she's one of those white girls who'd be like, oh my God, I watched 12 Years a Slave. I had no idea. Like, she kept shopping, went up to the thing like, oh yeah, I know you're sorry, but, isn't this on sale? I know your friend just died and all,
the suspected killer, her reaction was to take out her phone to film. She said the man was holding a knife and she hadn't realized someone had been hurt. With other shoppers walking casually, she didn't think there was much danger.
I was very nervous because I didn't know, who his...
All right, so yeah, I don't know why they just picked this random white girl. But, all right, so now, all of the, we don't... Let me see. Yeah, so, now all of this stuff is just this week here, the week in what's been going on.
Why my kids? It could have been me, besides my kids. They children.
Kids arrested, and it was all, as you can see, caught on cell phone video. This is video of what one mom says are Senatobia police officers assaulting and arresting her two teenage girls yesterday. It happened just after the kids apparently got off the school bus on East Gilmore Street.
Tonight, Fox 13's Sierra Jordan speaks with that mother and shares the emotions running through that community.
This piece of paper in my hand is from the Senatobia Housing Authority. Anybody who is...
And by the way, so when people say like, oh yeah, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, I'm just saying this, like I said, this is this week. And what's been happening.
Senatobia Housing Authority. Anybody who is on this list are not allowed to be on the properties owned by them. Anybody standing on the properties across the street will be charged with trespassing. Now, I spoke to a mother and she told me her two teenage daughters got off the school bus and was walking on the other side of the road, but not on the properties. Yet police arrested and charged them with disorderly conduct and trespassing.
Yeah, so a little disorderly conduct fresh off the school bus,
Now that mother is calling for justice.
I really want my babies to come home so she can seek the right medical attention that she needs for her wrist.
It was a regular Tuesday afternoon.
See, it's like, and she said for her to come home. What do you mean for her to come home? So she's still arrested, I guess, while they doing this interview. And I understand, the brother crying, the sister crying. I would be crying, you know what I'm saying? So it's not about that. But I'm saying, how much times do we got to cry? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, anyway.
For her wrist.
It was a regular Tuesday afternoon for Shanicia Miller as she was waiting for her 2 teenage daughters, Alasia and Anaya, to get off the school bus.
Right, these little girls, yeah, they on TV doing the interview because that's what we do to get justice. We call for justice. We got to call a press conference. It's literally the same press conferences since like Emmett Till's mom. She started doing it, and we doing the same press conferences till this day right now. And none of them guys, even till right now, like the last thing that white bitch did was didn't get justice or whatever, and died of cancer, which was not good enough,
Miller says there was heavy police presence on East Gilmore Road for a shooting that happened in the area. But as her 13 and 14-year-old daughters were crossing the street, she says they were approached by 3 Senatobia police officers.
An officer came out and told her to get her black on the sidewalk. She proceeded to get there, but turning around to ask him, what were you gonna do? Lock me up too?
Miller says that's when police officers assaulted and arrested her 13 and 14-year-old daughters. You can see in the cell phone video several officers standing over them on the ground.
One was body slammed to the ground. One was choked. I ran across. I was detained for trespassing.
Miller says this list of people shows they are not allowed to be near the properties owned by the Senatobia Housing Authority. As for her daughters, they were not on the list, but still charged with disorderly conduct and trespassing.
And the only thing I'll be saying is I don't want to just be like, oh, I'm willing to go to the news and like I'm crying, like, oh, they got to pay, but there's nothing they can do, I'm like, yo, first of all, it shouldn't come to our children. It should be like, yo, why are we paying tax money? We should be that mad for tax, like they're taking our tax money. You know what I'm saying? And of course, not even putting it back within our own communities, which was the whole purpose of everything. When people say they died for, it was so they could get their money, or you're going to give us these buses, or you're going to give us our money so we can make our own or get our own damn buses, And we should be that mad about taxes. It shouldn't even be a question about our children. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to come to a point where like they do something, I'm like, yo, what can I do? And then it's nothing but a suicide mission.
Be near the properties owned by the Senatobia Housing Authority. As for her daughters, they were not on the list, but still charged with disorderly conduct and trespassing.
Her wrist may be broke, and the only thing they can give my baby is a bag of ice.
Miller says her 2 daughters have a court hearing tomorrow morning. I did reach out to the Senatobia Police Department for comment, but I'm...
All right. Of course, y'all saw this with the brother, who is they came into
the Sheriff's Office today releasing body camera footage.
The brother's house, and I wasn't even going to talk about this one because everybody knows about this one, which is good, because people get mad about like one every now and then. And be mad for a few days, but not enough to actually do something. If only, what I'm saying, it was happening to Arabs in a different country, then people will be mad enough to do something. But, y'all know about that one already, because I know there's going to be enough people talking about that one. All right, and we want to talk about the ones that people don't see. All right, so, now this happened this has been going on for a long time, right? This dude, beat up a Hispanic dude, beat up this sister here, right? And then they was in court for years, and then he got convicted. But then this week, they just overturned his conviction.
In Miami with our top story at 4, Bridget.
Well, the court said that the state attorney's office should have never moved forward with the charge. We spoke to the victim.
Yeah, the mother. Yeah, I feel you.
Ima Loving, she says she's disappointed with this decision and is hopeful that she will win her civil case, which is still pending.
Why are you doing that?
You may remember this 2019 rough arrest of Daima Loving. It shows Miami-Dade police officer Alejandro Giraldo slamming her to the ground. 5 years later, she says she continues to suffer.
I have PTSD. I'm taking all type of medication. I'm going to the psychiatrist, therapist, and everything every week. Like, it's not okay. I can't even sleep.
Investigators say Giraldo made false statements on her arrest form. It set off a legal battle between her and Giraldo, who was relieved of duty, arrested, and eventually convicted of felony battery in April of 2022. Loving said in court she forgave him.
I do forgive you. I feel like if it wasn't recorded on camera.
You say what, girl? Maybe that's why they let his ass go. Never mind. And he got the, I guess, Hispanic. I don't know. They white. I mean, Hispanic white. I don't know. You what, girl? I mean,
In April of 2022, Loving said in court she forgave him.
I do forgive you. I feel like if it wasn't recorded on camera or if it wasn't put out, no one would ever know the real Alejandro.
He was sentenced to 364 days in
what
county
the hell is the real one? The one that you forgave? What the? Never
jail.
mind.
Now, in a turn of events, an appeals court overturned his conviction.
I'm very disappointed. I'm very discouraged, in my justice system.
Loving feels the decision was a slap in the face.
Everything is black and white. It's all on camera.
The ruling stated the state should have not moved forward with the battery count as the arrest would have been lawfully made.
There is literally no repercussions for what he done to me.
Girl, you sitting there talking about you forgave him, but yeah, it's legal to arrest black people that way. It don't matter a man or a woman. I forgive you. I don't know. He lost in the sauce out here. Of course, this young brother here.
St. Tammany Parish Sheriff's Office intentionally inflicted emotional distress on Johnson.
Now this happened before.
Celebrated the ruling. He expressed his pride in his and his mother's resilience, stating.
But they just gave this young brother a lawsuit or something like that. Yeah, so he just got like $100,000 or something like that. Let me see. All right, this didn't happen before. This happened before. Okay, yeah. All right, now this one. Right, so and then in Michigan, so a cop who was on his way to buy drugs and got caught saying, crazy stuff about black people and got fired. So then recently, this one happened last week. I'm sorry, but another police department near Detroit hired him, so those of you out there in that area,
Startling misconduct that his own department never knew about.
It's just the latest example in our ongoing investigation, revealing how officers have been able to leave one agency under a cloud of controversy, only to join another.
Here's 7 investigator Ross Jones.
It's 8 o'clock on the morning of December 4th, 2020.
The crazy thing, Ross, whoever got the courage to enforce their law is the one who makes it. So.
Oakland County Sheriff's Deputy Greg Marone is behind the wheel at the start of his shift.
Tickets at 81.
His dash camera just began recording, not because Marone turned it on, but because he's driving so fast. At more than 90 miles per hour, it kicks on automatically. It's not clear if Marone realized he was being recorded.
Take the next right onto Dutton Road.
Marone is on duty, in uniform, and in his sheriff's vehicle, but this trip is not about police business. Listen as the deputy sends a voice-to-text message from his phone.
I'm going to need a few minutes, or I don't know what, because I need to go to the bank. So it's kind of messed up right now. I have enough to loan you the 100.
He was sending texts to a man he would later admit he'd been purchasing Schedule II narcotics from without a prescription.
Give the money.
Getting that meth.
It's you tomorrow, I guess, unless you have it or you have the pills already.
Marone admitted to meeting the man on duty in uniform, and the dash cam captured more.
You little evil. Imagine this.
While arranging the meetup,
By the way, that's the N word. To beep out was that the N word.
Imagine this.
While arranging the meetup, Deputy Marone passes a dark-skinned woman walking her dog and begins hurling racist slurs.
See, that's how. But they hate us because they ain't us. You know what I'm saying? That's how much your presence of you walking a dog in a nice neighborhood, probably. That's probably what set him off, because he never lived in. His sister is more successful than he'll ever be. So just seeing her out there is what, because they know deep down, like, you know what I'm saying, the truth. So he saw a sister walking her dog, minding her own business. And so he was pissed off. And she didn't even do nothing, and the fool got caught.
Deputy Marone passes a dark-skinned woman walking her dog and begins hurling racist slurs.
Monkeys. Wherever you are. They get a nice house and they actually think that there's something.
There we go. They live in a nice house. And it's ironic, though. We all know what's closer to monkeys, like with the monkey lips. There's no disrespect to monkeys, you know what I'm saying? Monkeys are cool. There's no disrespect to monkeys, so I wouldn't call them that.
Wherever you are. They get a nice house and they actually think that there's something.
When the sheriff's office discovered the video, they opened an investigation. According to sources, Marone admitted to buying Schedule II narcotics on duty. He said he'd done it before.
So he went to go to this area to go buy his meth, seen a black woman mind her own business. Well, anyway, so they ended up hiring this fool again at another police department out there. So those of you out there who know. Now, I do want to, because obviously this is not going to make us understand anything, until it happens to you personally, I guess. Right? And instead, I see what a lot of black people talking about certain things. Like, now, I really don't care about that whole thing in itself, Now, everybody talking about this thing here with this, dumb, like these two clowns, I don't really care about them or whatever. I hope this is the right one. Oh, no, hold on. Okay, yeah. Let me, yeah, I wanted to play some of this one, I guess. Because I don't really want to play their part. I don't really care about what they're talking about.
Establishment. And what like everybody is on Twitter right now. But I listened to the majority of the podcast between the two so I could have her decipher her opinion on that subject, because I knew she was going to elaborate. And yeah, while I admit Ann Coulter might not be the best Republican of all time, a lot of the time she has Trump derangement syndrome, but she says what she thinks without a filter, and sometimes we need an Ann Coulter to dog the establishment. And what I witnessed in this conversation between the two is two intellectuals having a respectful disagreement on who should be able to be president or not. And this is something I think we need to have more.
Everybody making fun of this idiot because, she just told
wasn't
them
changed. She definitely opened
it's
herself
quote,
to more of a
wake-up
Vic's
call,
mindset, because really the core of the issue is how long should your ancestry lineage have been in the United States to qualify you for president? If you've read the Harry Potter books or seen the movies, there's certain...
I don't care what this dude said. He said something that would have made it make sense, but I don't feel like finding it. But pretty much, y'all, I don't really care about what they say. But he was, and this fool here is talking about, well, just because somebody says the N word and says something racist like that doesn't mean that they are racist. But the fact is, many of us agree with this, but we all understand. Well, we all should, but too many of us don't understand this thing that we have no friends. You know what I'm saying? When people talk about each group being for themselves, I want you to hear how other groups understand, like, being for yourself. Like, we have to make sure that our group of people is straight. But anyway, the thing that tripped me out here was the Negro Republicans. Now this dude seemed pretty shocked, and I was trolling them in the thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you know, the funniest part about all of this is like how shocked that you are that they are like this.
Get back to that.
All right, we got to talk about this. Ann Coulter has lost her rockers. She's gone crazy, I guess. I am new to Ann Coulter. I didn't know that she was like this, but I guess it shows that there's still a lot of people out there that, you know, will not vote for someone because of their skin color. And that's such a sad thing. It's a bad look for conservatives because we're sitting here trying to get the country back to a good functioning state, and you know, we get a wrench thrown in the game like this. Now Vivek to me is the guy,
and the thing is, like, they always joke with the and the thing is, like, obviously when we see what's going on with our children, that's not enough of a wake-up call. And even sometimes them telling you to your damn face, it's not enough of a wake-up call. And this guy seems shocked that, like, oh, it's sad that some people say, well, he'd be surprised, you know.
After Trump, Vivek would be a great candidate. You let me know your comments down below what you think about Vivek. But
I was trolling this
interview.
Dude, and he probably say something later. I don't care about what they're talking about.
Ohio, lady. You know what's even crazier about all this is that Vivek is from Ohio. He was born a U.S. citizen from Ohio, lady.
He's an immigrant, bro.
Come on now. An excellent candidate. I mean, have to absolutely have a white Anglo-Saxon.
Because she's telling them you have to be white, you know, for to fit in with them. And the craziest part is you as a Negro yourself will never, ever, 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 ever fit in with them, you know. And so this dude just seems lost.
Ohio, lady. Come on now. Is it that serious that you have to absolutely have a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant in office to run the country? Vivek would be an excellent candidate. I mean, whether this lady likes it or not, he's probably the guy. But hey, maybe that's just my opinion. I don't know anything.
And that's for sure.
But I know Vivek is a U.S. citizen, and that's just absurd that she has deep down inside her, within her, that she has to deal with. Because, you know, for whatever reason, the racial part is more important.
What the part you started talking about hope and all of this?
Robinette, based on what your reasoning is, run the country. Even though she agreed with me more than most other cases back. I'm going to have to watch some more of that Truth podcast. I'm sure this was a reality check. I guess he got a little taste of it because she made conservatives look terrible. But Vivek is a conservative. I'm leaning more conservative. There are going to be people out there like this that have this mindset. You know,
there's a lot more than you think, buddy.
I'll have to just push this to the side and take it as an L, and just keep pushing. And we got to just keep, you know, the faith that, you know, let's get Trump in here, and hopefully somebody like Vivek can come after.
So even after they tell you straight to your face, like, yeah, we just push it to the side, keep the faith, keep it pushing,
and hopefully people's minds will open up to, hey, it's more important about we need people that are going to get the job done, that have the same values.
Oh yeah,
it's not about the skin color; it's about us having the same values. Can we get past the skin color thing, please? Please.
Good luck with that, buddy.
You know, so everybody's always saying that, you know, it's always the black people that have the racial issues, and
well, who says that? Everybody always saying it's the black people that's the racist ones.
Having the same values. Can we get past the skin color thing, please? Please. You know, so everybody's always saying that, you know, it's always the black people that have the racial issues, and we're, you know, whatever. But hey, look at Ann Coulter. She can't seem to let that go. So, you know, it is softy.
So it could be they are the ones. Now, this dude is I ain't gonna be long on this part, but I'm sorry, this part was just tripping. Because I was just curious to how these people would respond like the black people when she's sitting there telling you like what Tim Scott found out. Like it's not like they don't find out, you know what I'm saying, when they let him run and all that, you know. But and he's talking about well, listen to this.
Now, the reason
I
why
want
this
you to hear how he
conversation
tried to
is
justify this.
controversial is because liberals are having a hard time understanding why Vivek did not melt down crying racism over the fact that Ann Coulter told him on his podcast during
Now,
this
for some reason, he keeps saying her name that way. I don't think he knows who this is, to be honest with you.
discussion that, hey, I like a lot of the things that you said during the GOP primary when you were running for president. However, I can't vote for you because you're an Indian. Now, instead of crying racism, which is what most people would have done, Vivek actually did the right thing and engaged in the debate of ideas, mainly about nationalism, with Ann Coulter in response to her opinion, which I feel.
Miss Ann, how comes you won't let me? Please let me run. And she said, if you sleep with one of my daughters, then maybe I'll vote for your children. If you have children with our daughters, which is another kind of thing where they're trying to fix their population. I don't know. I don't think that's going to work though. You know.
Fact that despite her opinion, Vivek engaged with her, and they actually found a lot of common ground when it comes to this conversation about nationalism and loyalty to the country. When we're talking about electing our leaders, and this is a very interesting conversation because I think that this is a conversation that should be had instead of just smearing people as racist just because they say something that you might find to be offensive, and just
because they say something racist, we shouldn't just say that. I got you.
Dismissing, just sitting down and talking to them and understanding where they're coming from. Because again, if you actually sit down and understand where they're coming from, you're gonna find that, hey, I might not necessarily agree with your conclusion or your reasoning, but there is a lot of common ground in regards to some of the core beliefs that we have when it comes to our leadership, okay, in the direction that we should take the country.
See, he got to tread lightly here, because he can't cross off, because most of his people is going to agree with, Miss Ann over here. But he can't agree with it because it would exclude him. But he also cannot offend his money, because look, this is how they make so much money about this. So yeah, we talk about like putting money and all of this resources and stuff behind the actual projects that you believe in, and I'm saying like go develop your own or whatever, or find somebody who's already got something going on and put your time, money, resources behind that, because that's what these fools doing. You create these jobs, but not saying that they're not going to exist, right? But this dude here is getting paid. He got like 780 something subscribers, just about all, clones, but mostly, them.
And I think this is a great example of that, because Vivek is essentially going to make a counter argument that, hey, you're in conclusion about how you believe in order to get leadership that is dedicated to this country, which is her chief concern, loyalty to America, doing what's in America's best interest. And therefore, that is our core values. These individuals who came over from Europe were committed to. So I wouldn't call her a, flaming racist or whatever.
Well, no,
I personally believe that Ann Coulter's main concern when it comes to nationalism or loyalty to the country in regards to her standards for who she would vote for president probably has more to do with the Anglo-Saxon culture part of it, right?
You always the suspect if you ain't one of them, fool.
I mean, hey, she did date Dinesh D'Souza, who is Indian, right? So I'm just saying, I don't know. She seems to have no problem dating outside her race. So I would.
Well, white bitches is whores, so it's nothing unusual. You know what I'm saying? If another blonde ain't wasn't getting her mess, she might wouldn't have got stabbed up herself.
Wouldn't call her a flaming racist or whatever because of her opinions, but I do think that she's chiefly concerned about the preservation of the culture that was dominant at the founding of this country. In fact, our law, right, a lot of our systems are based off Old English common law. We
There
do
you go,
speak
Ross.
English as our primary language, and although these individuals who came over from Europe were committed to ideas of the Enlightenment, which meant that, hey, we're open to other people coming into the country as well too and assimilating, there was a pan-European identity, right? A commitment to their roots. Okay,
there was a pan. They put whiteness aside, right, to go take over something, right, to make whatever law, make you speak English now, you know what I'm saying, and have you crying on TV when they do something to your children and can't do nothing about it, right? But
ancestry.
you're American, though,
and in
so.
fact, I would characterize her opinion here as more of an elitist opinion because traditionally WASP, or white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, have been associated with the elite in society. Okay, if you look at a lot of our Ivy League elite institutions, historically speaking, they have been founded by mainly.
See, the problem is because a lot of the black intellectual people try to do this on the other side when they start talking about this thing. Here's something that's clear when she clearly said, because most of them is poor rednecks, poor trad, whatever you call them, you know what I'm saying, Peckerwoods or whatever. Most of them ain't got nothing. Dumb as hell, right? Never gonna be nothing, right? It doesn't matter about any of that. And on both sides, black people, this is not about race. This is elitism because they want to be like all lives matter. They can't realize, if we don't practice this thing that they call quote unquote racism, where we protect our own and have our own and don't let other people come in, because we gotta invite everybody, at least to the cookout first, let alone a country. But anyway,
mainline Protestant denominations, and they have been dominated by WASP. Okay, and Ivy Leagues and WASP culture has been intertwined. Again, if you look at Harvard, Amherst, Duke, Columbia, all of these schools. Okay,
by the way, all of them schools was made before most of them got here. Do you know how they got their money? I'm sure you all can guess. But they was here before most of them WASP, you know what I'm saying, and WAPs, you know what I'm saying, got here. So I don't know what he's talking about.
Ivy League institutions, these elite institutions, historically have been associated with WASP culture, which, as a group in this country, WASP have been the most successful economically, culturally.
By the way, I don't think he can say that. They might say, "Yo, don't say WASP no more." You didn't know this time, but don't say it because he's not understanding about. He's just there for the money.
Politically. So as a result, they have been associated historically with the elite in society. So in my opinion, I think that Ann Couture, where she's coming from here, is more of an elitist opinion, more so than kind of a racial opinion. Is more elitist is what she's kind of getting at here, right?
Never. No, yes.
Because the interests of the United States and the UK are not the same all the time.
Which nation to whom kinship?
Pushing an ideology that, in my opinion, I would say is anti-American. Look for America, or America, how you should engage in these types of conversations. Because like I told you guys, these Ivy League universities are a product of WASP culture. Okay. However, fast forward.
WASP culture. Ivy League schools are a product of WASP culture. All right.
To today, I would not call these Ivy League universities pro-America or America first institutions, right? I don't think that anybody would say that, considering how they are preaching an ideology. They're pushing an ideology that, in my opinion, I would say is anti-American. Look at the products of our Ivy League institutions nowadays. These people seem to not like.
By the way, this is about her saying I wouldn't vote for you because you were Indian. I don't know what the hell he's talking about
the
here.
founding values and ideals of the country,
more so than, again, what you look like or even your ancestry, right? This is what he's getting at here, okay? And again, this is how you engage in these types of conversations, because if what Ann Couture was saying was true, then you would not see these Ivy League universities, which again, historically have been dominated by WASP. They would not have turned into the progressive indoctrination camps that they have turned into, okay? If what she's saying is true about how, well, in regards to what it means to be an American, okay, and citizenship and
See, he's trying to talk his way into how it don't mean white people, right? The question has always been, what are we going to do with these N-words? You know what I'm saying? From Abraham Lincoln's debates. That's why they call it the Lincoln-Douglas debates. You know, that was the first time they asked. Well, no, since George Washington, that was the first time they asked, what is we going to do with these N-words? And the question is always the same, you know. But see, he's sitting here trying to talk his way like, oh, well, it's not about race. It's not about that. It's not, you know.
And other branches of government. I think it is important that, you know, we do establish some kind of requirements in regards to loyalty to the country for the president of the United States, right? Which is why, you know, natural born citizenship is a requirement. Okay, because we have to make sure that the person that is leading us when we're talking about negotiating with foreign countries isn't being loyal to two countries at the same time or trying to act in the best interest of another country. We have to understand that
You can't be loyal to two things at one time, right? You gotta pick one side or the other. You know, if you want whatever to stop, you gotta be committed to making it stop. You can't serve two things. You can't feed the thing that is runs off of your bloodshed, by the way. You know, maybe yours runs off tears or bloodshed the other way, you know, but you can't pick two sides, you know.
They need to be acting in the best interest of America and America only. I mean, American flag. I mean, I've seen more congressmen lately dressing Israeli
state or have a diversity of their skin.
All right, I'll think about it.
You have a lot of these, you know, the descendants of these people that are woke leftists that seem to embrace anti-American ideology. Goal is in regards to what she wants out of.
Now, so this is like 30 minutes of him trying to explain how what they don't see happening is happening. You know, like when Tim Scott to get up there and say, "Oh, America's not a racist country," and then they'll not let him even get on the debate stage or something. Now, I want you to hear this one, but I want you to hear it from your point of view. You know what I'm saying? If you think about it, right? If it's gonna let me play it, you know. I probably shouldn't even be, but anyway, I want you to hear it from your point of view, though.
Common ground with her. He actually tries to find common ground. But does Ann Coulter have a point? I think is the better question here. She says this blatantly to his face. I mean, props to her for not hiding it, not hiding what she heard, that the United States must maintain, and only people with a background or heritage of white Anglo-Saxon Protestant culture would be able to continue, you know, should be in leadership to be able to continue that. I think for other countries, there might be something to be said for wanting to maintain your cultural identity, whatever that cultural identity is, right? So if you're Japan, for example, people bring up Japan a lot when it
Or if yours has been destroyed, you know.
is then if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. Italy's a little bit that way too. Very difficult to become an actual Italian citizen unless you've had, well, you could buy your way in because they got that kind of government. But unless you have some real Italian heritage, they won't give you actual Italian citizenship. But they're not trying to eradicate everybody and anybody who isn't of that heritage from Italy. They're not taking land and saying it is a country of immigrants. Was the first round of immigrants, were we a British colony? Yes. We were a British colony. And
it was two different, like, let me tell you, you know, it was different ones, right? They failed like 4 times, you know what I'm saying? And the British wasn't the first, you know, and the Portuguese or the Spanish, I think, was first, you know. And then the British came, and that's when they start talking about the 1619 and all of that stuff. that's just because they're talking about the British. The British eventually became what is like America in most parts, you know. Of course, you have like different parts, but the people in the North, like the Pilgrims, right? Because you know they're gonna be like they was escaping whatever, but you know they was just criminals. They was sending thugs and criminals, you know. And the Pilgrims in the North was a whole different thing from necessarily the British. They was trying to break off from them, and the British and the Pilgrims in the North, by like they was already, you know, had slavery going on. They legalized selling children, black children only in the 1630s. You know, they had passed laws, all type of laws against, you know, black women, but the British part is only because America. But anyway, I guess what she was trying to say is some nationalism stuff, you know, because at some point, if you want to have your own nation and your own self-defense and your own protection, you're going to have to like build your own stuff. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to educate your own children, because even now they're telling you you can't even educate your own children, right? And I want to show you here in my city, you know, the schools that I went to, right? I went to
named after Confederate leaders, but not everyone is on
this
board
was
with the
last
timing
year
or the price
or
tag.
2 years
8 News
ago.
reporter Autumn Childress is live in Richmond with the latest. Autumn.
Deanna, this was
That's why I ain't know nothing back then. You know, I was dumb as hell. You know, I ain't know none of this stuff because I went to these schools.
first introduced back in 2020 during civil unrest here in the city of Richmond. Well, now it's back on the table, but some school leaders say now is not the right time. Tonight, the push to rename 3 Richmond schools: John B. Elementary, Ginter Park Elementary, and Benford Middle. All 3. Carey Elementary, Ginter Park Elementary, and Benford Middle.
See, I went to John B. Carey. I went to Benford. John B. Carey is a elementary school. It turns out it's an old ass white dude born in the 1800s. John B. Carey. Let me see. He was a Confederate dude. I didn't know, you know, and served as the superintendent of Richmond Public Schools in the 1800s. So I went to John B. Carey Elementary School. Then I went to Benford Middle School. And those are the ones they talking about renaming. And then the one they didn't talk about renaming, I went to Thomas Jefferson High School, you know, so.
3 named after men with ties to the Confederacy.
This name is change. It's not something we can wait on.
School board member
My family like lived like on the other block, like a block over from here too.
Stephanie Rizzi, who represents the 5th District, is part of the group behind the effort.
I really do believe that the name of a school really does set the tone for how children perceive that school.
At a school board meeting, Rizzi and 4 other board members gave the proposal a green light. However, 3 board members pushed back on the idea. Here's board
to move forward.
Forms and stationery. Board member Mariah White.
Right, so you get the point, right? So they said that, and so they passed it, but now, you know, I guess recently, this is something else that happened this week. Let me see. But recently they took it back, you know. They was like, nah, we're gonna change the names back to what they were. Because I guess they're trying to do these things where they're sitting there telling you, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, of course it's not gonna work now. But anyway. And we wonder why we don't know anything and why we keep repeating the same thing and then got to learn the hard way over and over.
Is allowing the world
because we're
top
letting
billionaire.
our children go to school in certain places. You know, I didn't even know who these fools were, but I was going to schools named after them all the time. Of course, you know who Thomas Jefferson is, but.
Okay, so
this happened like today or yesterday.
Cheryl, we're ready for a roll call vote. Thank you.
Mr. Street,
Yes.
Ms. Carlenio,
Yes.
Mr. Gutshaw,
No.
Ms. Roots,
Yes.
Mr. Rickard,
Yes.
Mr. Bartlett.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't even go to Robert E. Lee.
The records show that the motion carried 5-1.
I'm a black student, and if the names are restored, I would have to represent a man that fought for my ancestors to be slaves. That makes me feel like I'm disrespecting my ancestors and going against what my family and I believe, which is that we should all be treated equally and that slavery was cruel and an awful thing. I think it is unfair to me that restoring the names is up for discussion. People don't take the time to think about students like me who would not be proud to graduate from a school with the name Stonewall Jackson.
I haven't heard
So if any of y'all out there know the answer to this young lady, and it's not her fault, it's her parents' fault, you know, but all right, that means she needs to be going to Ida B. Wells High School then, you know what I'm saying? Well, we need to take them out because it is disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? You're right, it is disrespectful. So now we're going to try to establish Ida B. Wells High School, go in there, you know, or establish, you know, whoever your hero is. So
The name Stonewall Jackson.
I haven't heard anybody here say we need to change the name of the school to Abraham Lincoln School. How many here would like to see it be Abraham Lincoln School?
Hell no. Do not call it that. Absolutely not.
Oh, but you see, no, we can't do that kind of stuff. He was with the North. We got to keep our history here. Our history's more important.
What?
Our future's more important. Not
He said what? He said he was with the North. Our history. What?
our history.
Tearing down statues and monuments and erasing history.
Gabriel Prosser, he was here, you know what I'm saying? You could name the school after him. He was a hero.
While indoctrinating children is exactly what Adolf Hitler did in the late 1930s in Germany. We learn from history to become a better people. In America, we live in a constitutional republic that is government of, by, and for the people. You have listened to a couple dozen people this evening, and remember the several thousand that you have heard. Thank you.
Yo, I got a question. Who is worse, George Washington or Adolf Hitler? I don't know. It's hard to tell the difference for me. And then Seattle, but I guess it's a little less relevant because this is like one of the whitest places in the you know. So last year they were talking about considering the school closures, but you know which districts they're going to close the schools in. You know, so yesterday they approved to close 20 schools by 2026 because they don't have quote unquote money. So
I sure was, Mary. And as you just mentioned, this is not for this current year or the next year, but then the following year. So we know that the school district, they're hoping to dig themselves out of a more than $100 million budget gap. The school board did give that green light to the superintendent, which means he can now create a list of the schools that could be potentially closed.
Aye. Director Top?
Aye.
Guess what school they're gonna close, y'all? I'll give y'all one guess.
All in favor.
I know that this is a very emotional topic, the idea of needing to close schools.
The Seattle School Board unanimously signs off on a proposal that could close more than 20 elementary schools in the district.
We are looking at the schools that are very small as potential for being consolidated into other schools.
According to the district, elementary schools are only at 65% capacity, and this new plan would increase school utilization to 85%.
Assumptions, and you, as the school board directors,
all right. So y'all see, you know what's going on with that, but at the same time, right, a couple days ago, you know. They do have
the
money.
City has now put up tape around the encampment here at Powell Barnett Park. They've also put up these signs that say folks living here have until Thursday morning to get their stuff out before the city steps in and clears it. This puts some of those migrants back in the limbo, and they say they feel like they're stuck in a cycle of going from hotels to parks, and that cycle seems to be far from over. Ellie Sander is staying at Powell Barnett Park for now. He tells me he's one of the adult men left behind here after families and children were moved out of the park encampment a day earlier. For those who did get out of the park, many of them came here to a Quality Inn in Kent. It's a facility that's been hosting migrants for months as funding sources come and go.
I straight left the Negro behind.
The city shut down the park camp right after neighbors publicly expressed concerns about the health and safety of more than 200 people living in the city park. Seattle leaders have repeatedly said the city does not have the money to deal with the migrant crisis and pointed to county and state funding for temporary housing for refugees. The city has now put up tape.
Fair enough. It was like, yo, everybody but you, black men, get in here. All right, so and then now this also been going on too. In Georgia, you know, this black town, they was like mad because their a railroad company is, you know, going to try to build a railroad through what they got going on down there.
Building your online business?
Hancock County say they're against a proposed railroad coming through their community, worried that tracks could be laid in their backyards against their wills. Our Gloria Ruth Finney spoke to some of those residents today who say they are fighting back.
That's right, Greg. They say they've been told by the Sandersville Railroad Company that its plan is to build a new line through their property, whether they like it or not.
It goes across some property, see, all the way down to the ones that we're concerned about.
Mark and Janet Smith live in Hancock County and say in April of 2022, they received a letter from the Sandersville Railroad Company stating it required part of their property for a new rail line to have train access to and from the local.
It's like we just took a part of your property, you know, just because we need to build this train. What is this, the 1800s?
Rail line to have train access to and from the local granite quarry. After a field survey done by the railroad, they were notified the railroad no longer had plans to go through their land. However, they say the railroad still plans to go through many of their neighbors. So together, they're speaking up, calling for the end of the line of railroad plans in Hancock County. And the opposition is building up steam. Kenneth Clayton has lived in his house since 1972. About a decade after he moved in, the granite quarry showed up.
I was overseas when it came, man. To me, it sounds like Iraq, really, you know, the constant banging and booming when they start talking about the railroad track.
Now, no disrespect, right? Now, this is an elder brother who was in their army, you know what I'm saying? And then earlier we saw a younger brother who was in their army, you know? And it's two totally different, but now this brother then lived on his land and they just gonna take his stuff, not to mention the lack of help he gets, you know, and probably still got PTSD from, you know, fighting somebody else's war. And imagine if we use that energy that we got, that we spend, that we do all of these things to fight for our damn selves one time, like just like 24 hours just to get a taste of it, to see if we like it. 24 hours. Everybody just like, yo, do what we got to do to the goal. And by the way, the goal is freedom. You know what I'm saying? So
the banging and booming when they start talking about the railroad track, I'm not ready to marry that. I'm already having a rough relationship with the quarry, but that railroad track would be a whole different.
He says the Sandersville Railroad Company, owned by Ben Tarbutton, has been surveying land beside his house for a railway to access the quarry. This is what he says the railway told him.
It's not going to be on your property, be 100 feet away. I'm like, my God, 100 feet?
Noise is oppressive. We don't always look at it that way, but when you're constantly bombarded by noise, whether it's from a train or from the rock quarry, it has to be an issue, you know, to you, to your focus, to your attention, to your education.
Mrs. Smith took me to Sandersville to show me an example of a neighborhood where the Sandersville Railway is just feet away from some people's front doors.
This is not going to happen to the Shoals Road community.
Right, you know.
I spoke to Sandersville Railroad Company owner Ben Tarbutton. When I asked him about the legal rights a private railroad company has to use eminent domain to acquire property, he stopped the interview, referring me to his company website. Live in the studio, Gloria Ruth Finney, WG.
We can do what we want to do. And like how they were saying at the earlier, how do you enforce laws? Because I said so. What are you going to do about it? That's how you enforce the law. So, that was last year in February 2023. Black residents filed a lawsuit. So, last month, all right, after I would click on this thing, but it's going to freeze up. I already know. And y'all can look it up. But after a year-long battle with the railroad company over their land, landowners in a rural majority Black town in Georgia may be forced to sell their homes in an initial decision on Monday. So this was last month, last month, about a month and a week ago. A Georgia Public Service Commission officer approved a proposal, rail spur in Sparta. So pretty much, we're just gonna make a railroad right through your house, fool. Now, okay, I will play this dude here, because speaking of land and stuff like that.
Enslaved families' descendant sues a company for $900 million. I smell money, and I think it's real. See what you think. Wall Street Journal, Nealon Youngblood. I love that name. And not just because he's filthy rich. An American physician, political figure, co-founder of private equity firm Barrows Capital Group, is righting a family wrong he says was perpetuated by one of the country's largest oil companies. He and his family are suing ConocoPhillips, accusing it of depriving them of the fortunes from oil-rich land in South Texas bought by his ancestors. They were freed enslaved people. They are seeking more than $900 million. Generational wealth stolen. That's the allegation. Is any deal he has closed, and with a nearly $1 billion upside. If it goes to a verdict, I think we can get a lot more, he said. And the Wall Street Journal with the details.
My bad. All right.
Phillips, meantime, Youngblood and his family.
And yeah, you can see this is an older brother who's a veteran in a land dispute.
Again, thank you for bless you. All the time. So
It's freezing up.
My name is John Simmons. I moved here 22 years ago. None of this over here was here. This was an isolated place. Nothing was here. And I worked hard. I took a wheelbarrow. Took me a year to clean this land up. And the city would not let me.
All right, so now it's freezing.
Put a brick home here. They said I could only put a double wide. First, they told me I couldn't put nothing here because I tore the old trailer home down that my father-in-law had. And I hired a lawyer. He charged me $10,000 to get me to get on this land. And his name was, I'm trying to think of his name now. I can't call it.
But now what's happening?
But right now, the developer in this area, Trent Thomas, Roundtree Development, and their lawyers is trying to take my land. They asked me to sell. I said I wasn't going to sell. They offered me $150,000 for my land just a few years ago. And you see what I got.
They lowballed them too, $150,000 for the land. They tried to lowball them.
Last month, 3 months ago, they offered me $500,000 in front of my lawyer. I said, no, I'm not gonna sell. He called me, Trent Thomas, say, his father called and say, I own your land up from back yonder. It goes way back there to your back door. And then his son called me 2 weeks ago and say, I want to buy your easement. I said, no, I'm not going to sell it. He said, I can force you to do it. When he said that, I prayed and I come up with my sign. And he called me.
Now listen, I'm with you right there on that one, Raw, you know. And this is not on, because this is an elder brother, you know what I'm saying? Like, he shouldn't even have to, you know what I'm saying? Like, and the thing is, like, you could do that, you know what I'm saying? And then after I prayed, I made a call and got some young brothers down here to make sure I was good in the first place, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know, if we really had it together. So that's a whole nother thing, you know what I'm saying? But maybe we don't keep doing this is because I don't know, man. I don't know why we keep doing it.
A few days ago, he said, you scandalized my name. I said, no, I'm not scandalized your name. I said, you scandalized mine. You say I was the nigger in the way. He said, I didn't say that to your face. I said, but you said it. He said, well, why don't you buy the land back? I said, I'm not going to buy it back. You ain't got no business being in my land. And so I hired a lawyer at first, Lipsy, at the Universal Tile Company in Bryan, Texas. College State, which one? And come to find out he was the same one that helped them get into my land. So I went back to him and told him, no, you can't be my lawyer. And he told me, I said, what do I owe you? He said, nothing. So I hired another attorney to help me out. And God bless. They're still in my land. Still in my land. They're still in my land.
That's not blessed though. It's not blessed. We let them breathe. That's the price we pay, you know what I'm saying, for not saying mine is mine, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's nothing wrong with making sure that you are safe, that you have somewhere where you can build your place for your family, you know, where you can live your life, you know, to be able to produce things for yourself. And he's doing the right thing, because all of that, they tried to lowball him, right? And then, you know, they offered him 500,000, you know how much money they stand to make from that. And even keeping that, if you think about it in their terms, the property, the value of that they put on it will go up. But really the value of the land is like what the land produces. It's like if this is like fertile soil and, like, you know, a good place to live, you know, that is value. The other value is the stuff that they determine. That's why we get stuff like confused and argue about different things, because we're stuck in a partial European mindset. And then they got us where we sitting there crying and praying and forgiving and loving and fighting for everybody else, though. You know what I'm saying? Not having that thing for everybody else, you know, making excuses when they sit up there and tell you, because they're going to tell you the truth, you know, like, it's okay to want to protect your own and to protect your own land, you know what I'm saying? Or to protect whatever nation that they think they have, but whatever nation that you have, that you build or whatever. And we shouldn't be ashamed to even say that, because I don't know, man. Anyway.
I don't know how they got into it. I was going to give my nephew a part to build a house, and somebody said, you better do a title check. I said, I went to the record department. I own my land. And when I found out Trent Thomas was in my land, nobody told me how he got in it or nothing, but he's in my land and he's trying to force me out. They told me if I didn't sell, they're going to buy this on the other side. They're going to squeeze me in, and I was going to lose value. And so, I'm 81 years old. And this is all I have. And I pray and ask God to bless me with this land. Now the enemy's trying to take it away. And they call me nigger in the way right here. And I told them I'm a black man.
Well, you know what? It was a white lady who called to tell me, and I was just beside myself, and I just wanted to see.
Oh Lord, she had to. It's a white lady that told me, so they're not all bad, you know. And then you got. I'm trying to find positive stuff though.
All right, now let's head down to the.
Try to find positive stuff. They said they bought this place here, but to buy land. Speaking
On a mission, the identical twins from Louisiana preserve their community's history.
Yeah, talk about history. They are now sharing their fight against industrial companies that.
So the room that we are.
Twin sisters Joe and Joy Banner look at this historic house.
This house was built around 1793.
And they see more than just old real estate. Rather, walls that hold 200 years of history that cuts deep.
Freedom fighters would have come in through these doors.
Growing up, Joe and Joy's grandmother would tell the stories of how the 1811 slave revolt ignited right here on the Woodland Plantation. An estimated 500 slaves took up arms in the uprising, making it one of the largest slave revolts this country has ever seen. 2 centuries later, the Banner sisters, Louisiana natives, are now the first Black owners of the historic house and the 4-acre plantation it sits on, right in the river parishes just 30 miles north of New Orleans.
I know that she is really proud.
U.S. troops and local militias stopped the rebellion.
They were executed and their heads were chopped off, placed on pikes along the river as a symbol of this is what happens to you when you fight for freedom.
The sisters using their nonprofit, the Descendants Project, to try to preserve the history of this place and to protect the health of the people who live along the 85-mile stretch of land that sits on the banks of the Mississippi River, dubbed Cancer Alley. The area is surrounded by almost 200 industrial facilities from Baton Rouge to New Orleans, spewing emissions linked to cancer in the region. According to the EPA, those who live here are 95% more likely to get cancer compared to the rest of the nation. The EPA under President Biden called for the plants to reduce toxic emissions linked to cancer. Woodland Plantation is wedged inside the so-called chemical corridor.
The plantations provide 3 things that they need: large access to land, access to water, as well as an accommodating political system.
Joe is referring to zoning laws that changed in Louisiana in the 1980s and 90s, changing residential lands into industrial sites. Just this year, Human Rights Watch said authorities have failed for decades to protect locals from industrial pollution and uphold federal safety standards, making it the largest concentration of fuel plants in the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah, bro. You see what they did in 1811, and then you see what we do in 4 days ago. But at least they got the land, you know, so that's the positive thing, I guess.
The Banner sisters are currently in a legal battle to stop Greenfield Louisiana LLC, a massive grain facility proposed in their backyard, saying it would do more harm than good, with the addition of more truck and boat pollution from added traffic and industry in an already vulnerable region. But Chad Roussel, a TSA employee and volunteer firefighter who can trace his family's lineage in the area back several generations, welcomes the economic benefits the facility is expected to bring.
They have talked about giving the younger folks a fair chance that, you know, the older folks have gotten. Most of them have worked and retired from industry.
In a statement to ABC News, Greenfield says in part, the project will provide thousands of good-paying, environmentally sustainable jobs for local residents who have long sought such opportunity. Farmers can and should coexist with efforts to preserve and celebrate the rich history and cultural heritage of the West Bank.
But it's just like, I'm going to give you a job and you can just job away all of your problems.
Black people in the area fought for the Union Army during the Civil War, returned after being emancipated, and then pooled resources to buy the same lands where they once were enslaved.
That's why we have the Descendants Project, because we're still influenced by that fight.
Faith Abube.
They left out all the stuff that happened with the Union Army, but anyway, they pulled their money and did things that they had to do. You know, that's a fact. But I want to show you this, because it just shows you what the mindset. Look at this, yo. You tell me, Look, they're eating a chocolate body of a dead person. All right. This is fun. This is fun and games for them.
Now, this is very disturbing to me. You're sitting around eating chocolate that looks like this, but you won't eat sea moss. Get it
That's it.
together, people. Now, this is very disturbing to me. You're sitting around eating chocolate that looks like this, but you won't eat sea moss. Get it together, people.
Like, this is and the whole time, this is who we've been fighting to be integrated with, y'all. The whole time, this is what we've been fighting to be a part of. Imagine if we had that the other way. Maybe our children would be all right. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we wouldn't have to cry. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we won't have to make some damn excuses, right? Maybe people won't be so easy to sell their souls to make a little bit of money to be a part of fools like this.
Sparking conversations and igniting outrage from all corners of the globe. Hello everyone, my name is Nalini. Entertainment of white people eating chocolate molds resembling a black person's body can be traced back to a long historical narrative of colonialism, oppression, and the commodification of black bodies. Now, the distorted nature of this trend brings up collective memories and trauma, bringing to surface the systematic injustices that continue to impact Black communities to this day.
Current culture is any indication, they want to be us. But not many of us know that white consumption of Blackness is sometimes literal. White cannibals aren't a figment of our historical imagination. Europeans often ate the mummified remains of Egyptians. Researchers argued it was for a substance Egyptian embalmers used to kill bacteria. But even when the health benefits of mummies were debunked, white people continued eating flesh. During the Atlantic slave trade, whites were known to eat the bodies of Africans when supplies ran low. Though it's suspected this occurred on many occasions, there is at least one documented case of this on the slave ship Aragante.
Now, as responsible members of the society, I do think it is our shared duty to challenge the damaging stereotypes and misinformation that supports such dehumanizing displays. We must commit ourselves to creating spaces where open, compassionate dialogue can occur.
Oh, girl, no, never mind. I ain't gonna say what you're supposed to do. If we ain't get it by now, me telling you ain't gonna help. So, and by the way, this is another book here. Now I'm not gonna lie. Like towards the end, it started getting weird. I couldn't even get to finish the end because I don't know. You can come to your own conclusion. So I never actually finished it, but the whole first 3/4 of it is a lot of information where it's talking about the stuff they used to do, and then of course I found stuff where they used to be like, oh yeah, when they first start kidnapping Black people or whatever, they was like, a lot of people was like scared because they was like, yo, they're taking them and eating them, and they was probably right.
The Delectable Negro, Human Consumption and Homoeroticism Within U.S. Slave Culture is a 2014 book by Vincent Woodard. The book explores the homoeroticism of both literal and figurative acts of human cannibalism that occurred during slavery in the United States. Woodard examines the sexual nature of documented instances of flesh eating and details the various manners of consumption whereby Black Americans were metaphorically or actually eaten. In the book, Woodard defines consumption as a range of parasitic practices, including institutionalized hunger, seasoning rituals, and sexual modes of consumption. The Delectable Negro draws on Works Progress Administration interviews, advertisements for runaway slaves, and slave narratives. The book includes textual analyses of the works of Harriet Jacobs and Frederick Douglass, as well as an examination of the treatment of Nat Turner, whose flesh was turned into medicinal grease. Woodard died in 2008 and never saw The Delectable Negro published. Thank you for watching.
All right, and you can they got audiobooks on here, so you can listen to it. And I'm gonna say like the first part is more about about them actually like when they used to like eat people, you know what I'm saying? It started getting into like crazy metaphors at the end, But yeah, I don't know. What I can say is they're not the same as me. And before I show the last positive thing, um, if I had more time, I would have talked about this, and I do wish Matron would have been in the building. I don't know. She probably wouldn't have anything to say about it, or really wouldn't care. But I think that she might like have information or like something to add to it. I'm not gonna play it, so it's all good. But there's a lot of these channels here where and then I didn't realize, this whole paper bag test was coming back. But she's here making a case for why you should bring back the brown paper bag test, right? And so that's a whole nother thing. And maybe I'm gonna talk about it, maybe I won't. But I'm gonna try to end up on some positive thing if it goes back. Some of them must be still in the Mississippi. Okay. Yeah. And all I can say is, they you like now we have to deal with them. They're here now. We can't go back. It is what it is at this point. Like, so we'll have to, do this, But this will be the positive video. But at the end of the day, it's like you say, you gotta pick a time and a date on the clock. Like even when those little girls, when the police, you saw them on there, like that's what I think. Like you'll see, and then somebody will be like, "Yo, I'm tired of this. Enough is enough," and stand up and do something, And then they'll have their backup to come, but then more black people will be like, "Yo, no," like, and then more black people will come, and then it just won't stop until somebody wins. And I can tell you, if we still here by not fighting back, what you think will happen if we do fight back, right? We survived all this time and don't fight back. It's amazing, really.
Don't you snatch that from her. Don't do
the education that we all should have gotten as children. Great parenting.
Don't you snatch that from her. Don't do that again. Yeah, knock it down. Tear it up. Yep, and step on it. And Karen's just gonna have to deal with it. The fuck? Yep, knock all of it down. Good girl. Very good, Naoki. And grab it and tear it up. Oh, well. Tear it up again. Don't put your hands on her.
Keep your hands to yourself.
Don't do that. Yeah. Don't do that.
So the next time when they tell you, you know what I'm saying, that is is a white country and you just want to be like whatever, you know what I'm saying? They say you can't be a part of it. You ain't gotta sit there and try to beg them, Miss Ann, please let me be a part of it. Miss Ann, please. And then you sitting there shocked, can't believe it, even though like I don't know how many violations in the last week that has been. Like, what wake up call? What are we looking for? Like, new world order. What we haven't caught up to the last world order, right? Like the sky is cracked, the wars started. You know what I'm saying? The alarms is like ringing, like slavery wasn't enough to like wake us up, and this is even worse because it's the illusion of inclusion. We're so close to comfort, but yet so far, which is all we want. But when they tell you that, instead of making excuses, right? When they say, "Oh, we got to investigate," or "We got to do this," or "We do that," I'm like, no, you can't be included. Okay, fine.
Don't you snatch that from her.
When they try to snatch your land, what do?
Don't do that again. Yeah, knock it down.
That's right.
Tear it up.
That's right. What do you do when they try to take your land and stuff? You try to take it first.
Down.
I'm sorry.
Tear it up.
I'm sorry.
Don't do that again. Yeah, knock it down. Tear it up. Yep, and step on it. And Karen's just gonna have to deal with it. The fuck? Yep, knock all of it down. Good girl. Very good, Naoki. And grab it and tear it up. Oh well. Tear it up again. Don't put your hands on her. Don't do that.
Go ahead, one more time.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Imagine if all of these parents have been teaching us that this whole time. Instead of saying, don't look down, they're like, oh, tear it up then. Imagine if we all got that training. Imagine if 70%, imagine if 30% of us got that training. Okay, fine. Tear it down. Great parenting, sister. Shouts out to her. All right, so shouts out to y'all. I know it's a lot of people probably wasn't, shouts out to Raw in the building and Blanca in the building. I definitely appreciate y'all all day, you know what I'm saying? And the point is kinship, friendship, and politics, and we don't know the definition of none of those. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the same thing happening over and over and over until we understand that we have no friends, right? There is no such thing as acceptance, right? Law is determined by the one who got the courage to enforce it, right? And as long as you accept it, it is what it is. That's the only thing that makes a government work. If enough people don't believe in it, then that government collapses or is not afraid of it, one or the other. So when we say, like, oh, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. Well, look what they've done in the last week. So that's all I can tell you. But anyway, I'm going to let this sister definitely have the last words. Let her break it down for you. If it worked. I'm almost done. Come on. All right. All right, my bad. I let this sister have the last words. And it's like messing up. Come on. He's definitely trying to mess up the last words, y'all.
Look what happened to desegregation. We're 50 years into Brown, and we've resegregated. Why? Because white people don't like black people, don't want to live with them, and sure don't want to go to school with them.
And that's not good.
I mean, please, just deal with it. Deal with it. Decentralization didn't work. Why didn't decentralization work? It didn't work because there was not enough money to implement it, and taxpayers don't want to pay any more money to educate, and not, at least not black people in the center cities. So, you know, anywhere you go, but I don't even want you to deal with the what do you call it, anecdotal knowledge. I want you to deal with the studies. How about the study that they did in Northwestern, where the students sent out applications for jobs using names, black names and white names? How about that one?
Black person, in terms of, then what do you say to a young black person in terms of, yeah, education is worth it. You got to get out there and the kinds of things that your mother used to say to you about get as educated as you can and you can beat the system.
It's not going to work. That's why these kids aren't doing anything in school. Don't you understand? They understand you're a big liar. And the other thing is, we're not doing anything about it. The preachers aren't doing anything about it. The teachers aren't doing anything about it. NAPSI's not doing anything about it. NAACP's not doing anything about it. The Urban League's not doing anything about it. Why? Because the topic is politically incorrect and must be sanitized.
Even at the expense of their own children's education.
It is done so. That's what's happening right now, right here, this minute. We don't have the courage that our people had during Jim Crow. Where is the Ida B. Wells? Where is the Mary McLeod Bethune? Where are they? We don't have the courage that our ancestors had.
Why not?
And you got a lot of young people walking around. And friendship, kinship, and politics. That's what gets you a job in the United States of America today. Not merit. Not merit. Merit has nothing to do with it. Anytime a white man with a prison record can get a job that a black man without a prison record cannot get, and they have the same qualifications. Isn't that clear? I mean, what kind of picture I have to paint?
Well, what do you say then to if a young black student in elementary school or high school that didn't have much faith in the system before in terms of, I'm not interested in this, and this is what white people do, and I don't, all that kind of stuff. When they hear this, what is to prevent them from saying, well, what do I need to stay in this place anymore for? Let me get out of here and get, on the streets and hustle some money or this, that, and the other.
That's what they're doing. I don't have to tell them that. I don't have to tell them that. That's what they're doing. Don't you see, my sister? Nobody has to tell them. These kids aren't stupid. They understand the name of the game. What we're not telling our kids are the nature of struggle and who the enemy is, because we're scared. Because we're scared. Because the enemy will take my job and I can't pay for my Lexus. I can't pay my house note. I can't send my kids to college. So I'm not getting up and talking about that.
So let's.
All facts. So as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're going to keep falling for anything.